A powerful state without integration is like fireworks. It's brilliant and brief, and then it's gone. What I teach is a complete movement. Kuṇḍalinī Śakti Awakens. Direct experience opens the doorway. Contemplation reveals its meaning. Integration reshapes your reality orientation. And embodiment turns recognition into the way you actually live. You live in the world, and you live beyond the world. It is all the same. My name is Don Lee Daniels. Some of you may remember me as Swami Gyanananda Saraswati. Whether you're watching this on YouTube, listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, I'm glad you're here, truly. For over 40 years, I've been exploring consciousness beyond the body through advanced meditation, conscious out-of-body experiences, and the awakening of Kuṇḍalinī Śakti, the underlying force that the mystics of every tradition have always known. What you're about to hear is an issue of my newsletter, Listening at the Edge of Consciousness. If you're not yet a subscriber, I invite you to join us. It's free. The link is in the description below and in the show notes. In issue 10, I said that when Kuṇḍalinī Śakti awakens, your entire perception of reality changes. That is so true. But it's not the whole truth. Because the awakening, whether it arrives as a thunderbolt or as a whisper, is not the destination. It's just the beginning. And what happens after that first stirring is where most teachings kind of go silent. The fireworks get all the attention, the energy surging up the spine, the visions, the kriyas. The first time you see yourself outside of your own physical body, wow! And you're alive and you're aware and you're completely you. The moments that shatter everything you thought you knew about who you are. But then what? Well, you come back to your body, you open your eyes, the world looks the same, and you're left holding an experience that nothing in your life has prepared you to integrate. What's next? This is where many practitioners get lost. Not from lack of sincerity, from lack of a map. So let me give you a map. 5 stages, 1 unfolding. Over 40 years of practice and decades of teaching, I've watched the same arc unfold. In myself and in every sincere practitioner I've ever worked with. And it moves through 5 stages. They mirror what in my tradition, the Nondual Śaiva Tantra tradition, calls the pañcakṛtya, the 5 acts of Śiva-consciousness. Because this pattern is not invented, it's recognized. Number 1, the awakening. Kuṇḍalinī Śakti stirs, everything is moving inside of you. Sometimes it erupts, an explosion of energy that separates your awareness from your body and leaves you hovering above your house at 19, like I did, made of light, wondering what the heck happened. Sometimes it arrives as subtle warmth, a current, a quiet aliveness at the base of your spine that you almost dismiss. And sometimes it's emotion, sometimes it's energy flowing up and down your arms or your legs. Who knows what the experience for you might be? The spectrum runs from the thunderbolt to the whisper. Both are real. Both are Kuṇḍalinī Śakti beginning to move. Stage 2, direct experience. Now the doorway is open. You begin to enter the states, deep meditation where the mind dissolves and something vast takes its place. The Tandra state, that luminous threshold between waking and sleep. Conscious out-of-body experiences, You may have kriyas, which are spontaneous movements of energy through the body. You may have inner lights. You may have sounds. You may have visions of celestial beings. You might see Krishna. You might see Shiva. You might see the Christ. The first glimpses of Sat Chit Ananda, pure existence, pure consciousness, pure bliss. Now, these are not things you just read about. You begin to experience them directly, repeatedly, each one confirming from the inside what no amount of reading could ever provide. Stage 3, and this is important, contemplation. This is the stage most practitioners skip, and it costs them dearly. Something extraordinary happened to you. Now, what does it mean? Not intellectually, not as a concept to file away. The word contemplation doesn't even fully cover what happens here. In this tradition, it's called bhavana, a knowingness that penetrates so deeply it becomes part of you. You don't just remember the experience, you begin to imbibe it. You grok it, you make it your own, and you begin to live with that awareness shaped by this new understanding. And repeated remembrances of it, returning again and again to what was revealed to you, cement that recognition into your heart, your body, your very being. This is where an out-of-body experience stops being a remarkable event and starts becoming a permanent shift in reality orientation. Not because you keep leaving your body, but because you've let the recognition permeate. I am not this body. I am not this mind. I am not these emotions. I never was. I am a being of light. And then stage 4, integration. Now, sadly, here is where many teachings fail. 40 years of teaching sincere, spiritually minded people struggle taught me something no scripture alone could. Powerful spiritual experiences without integration can destabilize a human life. But that's only half of it. I've also watched good people, deeply committed practitioners, try so hard to live up to their spiritual aspirations and eventually give up. Not because they lack sincerity, because the experiences they were promised never arrived. They never had that experience which confirmed what they were hoping for. Or they arrived and no one helped them understand what had happened, and it began to fade over time. I've seen this in another form too, and you may have seen this. A practitioner has an extraordinary vision. Shiva appears, or Krishna, or Christ, or some holy experience. The experience is overwhelming, luminous, and utterly real. And they believe they've arrived, and that maybe they're realized. And then the vision fades. Ordinary consciousness returns. And the devastation of discovering that it didn't stick, that they are not, in fact, permanently realized, can be crushing. What they didn't understand is that the vision was real, but it was stage 2, not stage 5. It was a direct experience, not embodiment. Without the stages between, contemplation and integration, even the most extraordinary experience remains a visit. Fireworks, not a permanent address. And then there are the near-death experiencers. Millions of people around the world have touched these same realms involuntarily, carried beyond the body and the shadow of death into worlds of indescribable beauty, encountering beings of light, angels, presence so vast and loving that ordinary language collapses under the weight of trying to describe them. And then they come back to this body, to this world, and the longing that follows can be unbearable. A homesickness for something they tasted but don't know how to return to. For some, the experience permanently reshapes their reality. They know, beyond any doubt, that this world is temporary and that something incomprehensibly vaster awaits. But that knowing often comes with a sadness that they can't explain to anyone who hasn't been there. They don't need to be convinced that consciousness survives the body. They know that. They need someone who could show them how to get back, deliberately, consciously, through practice rather than just through crisis. The cognitive dissonance between what they were told should happen and what they actually experience created a disillusionment so deep it made them question whether the entire journey was even worth it. And this is why integration matters, not just for those whose experiences are overwhelming, but for those whose path felt like it's gone silent. Shadow materials sometimes surfaces, old patterns crack open, energy moves in ways you don't expect. The nervous system recalibrates, the mind recalibrates, emotions flood in or disappear entirely. The ground you stood on feels less solid than it did before the awakening began. Now, this is not a sign that something has gone wrong. It's a sign that everything is working. But without grounding, without understanding, without someone who has walked this territory and can say, hey, this is normal, here's what to do, a practitioner can spiral. Integration is not optional. It is essential. And stage 5. Now, this is where we all want to get to. The Shiva Sutras in my tradition say it in these 3 words: Siddhaha Swatantra Bhavaha. An awakened being lives in absolute freedom. Not freedom from life, freedom within it. Not escape from the world, but the joyful recognition that the world itself is consciousness at play. Now, this is where the journey arrives, not at a peak experience you visit occasionally, but as a ground state, your default state, the way you actually live. You return from meditation, from the multidimensional realms, from states of samadhi, and you reassemble your memories of yourself. Only now your memories also include the understanding that you are pure consciousness, and you begin to live your life as a happy, joyous human being, full of bliss, with the awareness that it is all a play of consciousness, until it becomes permanent. The 5 stages are not a ladder. They spiral, and they also kind of go up and down sometimes. It's never 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like an elevator. Never. It goes 4, 3, 1 to 5, and then you come back until eventually you start staying at 4 and 5, and then eventually you stay at stage 5. Direct experience that once arrived as a thunderbolt is now a quiet and bliss-filled certainty. Integration work that was once difficult living in the world is now a joy. Like the old Zen saying that you may have heard, before enlightenment, chopping wood, carrying water. After enlightenment, chopping wood, carrying water. But now you do it from a completely different point of view, one of Sat Chit Ananda, pure existence, pure consciousness, pure bliss. The stages don't end, by the way. They deepen, and that is the path. Now, the 4 pillars that hold the journey. These 5 stages that I'm talking about don't unfold in isolation. They are supported by 4 pillars, the architect that makes the transformation sustainable. Pillar 1 gives you the practices, the meditation, conscious out-of-body experiences, the dharanas, the meditation techniques, the sutras from the ancient scriptures, the techniques of modern OBE pioneers, and others. This is where stages 1 and 2 come alive. Pillar 2 keeps you grounded, I call this the psychology of self-realization. Shadow work, nervous system stability, ethical development, working on spiritual bypassing, which sometimes happens. And this is where stage 4 lives. Now, pillar 3 shows where ancient wisdom and modern science converge, and I'm a big proponent of this. Consciousness research, neuroscience, technology that can support and accelerate the process. And pillar 4 is the lived proof, my story, and stories of others who have walked the path. Testimony, map, transmission. Now, what's coming? I'm building a structured path through these 5 stages. Practices, guidance, integration, support, and the kind of direct instruction that a newsletter alone can't provide. If this is the direction you want to go deeper in, I'll be sharing more soon. And you can join the early interest list at my website, donleedaniels.com, and it's down below. No commitment, just a way for me to know you're ready when it opens, if you want to. Kuṇḍalinī Śakti Awakens. Direct experience opens the doorway. Contemplation reveals its meaning. Integration reshapes your reality orientation. And then embodiment turns recognition into the way you actually live. There's another Shiva Sutra that says, Vismayo Yoga Bhumikaha. The stages of yoga are astonishing. And this is not dry theory. This is sacred adventure. And I love adventure. So remember, direct experience reshapes your reality. And you can learn how to access these states of consciousness deliberately and at will. Dive inward and fly free. This is Don Lee Daniels. That's the end of this issue of Listening at the Edge of Consciousness. The most important thing you can do right now is subscribe to the free weekly newsletter, Direct Experience, Ancient Wisdom, Modern Technology, and Practical Guidance for exploring consciousness beyond the body and deep within. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, please follow the show. And if this teaching moved you, a review helps more people find their way here. We're just beginning.